Hey everyone, Tammy Davis here. Thank you so much for stopping by. Yesterday I did a video that is on Instagram. You can follow the, just check me out on at Tammy Davis 8. I talked about, and I made a mistake, so I want to do a little bit of a correction. That is, I referred to the angiotensin 2 receptor when it comes to this 2020 virus. And the reason I was talking about this was with regards to why it's a really great idea to personalize our hand sanitizers. Earlier in the week, I shared a little bit about which which oils I would recommend that would be generally safe, with the exception of one, just because it has blood thinning qualities to it. So people who are prone to hemophilia or are taking some type of blood thinner, it's not a good idea. And there again, it's another reason why personalizing the oils we choose for hand sanitizer. But then why use oils as a hand sanitizer? Because they have a systemic effect. It's not just the immediate antiseptic, antimicrobial activity. It's also the systemic effects that it has. You know, the way it will support the nitric oxide synthase production. You know, it supports digestion. It supports the lymph. I mean, and again, it's based on what's going on with your system, because then you're actually self-medicating to a degree. You know, you're not only protecting yourself from something, you're also supporting overall systemic health. And to me, that's profound, because if you go buy just hand sanitizer at the local store, I mean, we are always talking about different chemicals. We're talking about endocrine disruptors. I have more people asking me, well, which oils are endocrine disruptors? Here's the deal. They all are. They all have the ability to influence hormonal activity. And hormonal activity could be the activation of hormonal process, or it could be the deactivation of a hormonal process. That's an endocrine disruptor. So it's just the ability to regulate or modify hormonal reactions. We just attach the word disruptor to it, which makes it seem like, ooh, it's, our own hormones disrupt activity and engage activity. So that's a normal thing, okay? But with an environment full of man-made chemicals that are potentiating a lot of degeneration, the act of using essential oils instead of a commercially made hand sanitizer goes much further. So that was the reason why. But anyway, I did say angiotensin 2 receptor when I meant angiotensin converting enzyme 2, the ACE2 receptor. But it does actually converts angiotensin and then subsequently activates the angiotensin 2 receptor. So they are related. I'm completely off my nut. It's just that I spoke out of turn. And therefore it does influence hormonal activity. It actually activates the autonomic nervous system and starts to signal stress. Okay, a stressful event is happening because the angiotensin 2 receptors, when the blood pressure becomes elevated, that's the reason why we have ACE inhibitors. Okay, so therefore this 2020 virus has the ability to go in, and it's an endocrine disruptor, you guys. It's another one of those ones that will plug in to that angiotensin converting enzyme, the ACE2 and receptor, and therefore influence the system, systemic activity. Now, the important thing to this is there's a couple reasons I'm back today talking about this. Number one, I'm going to give you a couple of oil suggestions that would be beneficial, and other suggestions for potential hand sanitizers or just that. But the ACE2 receptor is on the respiratory cells, okay? That's the reason why it's affecting our lungs. Now, that said, the ACE2 receptor also is there's connections with neurological factors as well, but then that makes sense because the brain affects or influences all systemic chemistry. So, but this 2020 virus plugs into the ACE2 receptor, and it begins to modify activities throughout the body. Depending on your epigenome, it'll affect you in certain ways. But this is the reason why it's such a problem within the lungs. Now, there's a couple of things I found really, really cool, and I'm going to post them as separate images on Instagram. But it's the different shapes is what I'm about to talk about. So we have the virus itself, the shape of the virus, the molecular structure. Then there is the molecular structure of oh my gosh, I can't believe I just Hesperitin, Hesperitin. It's a bioflavonoid, and it's actually found in citrus fruits. Hesperitin has actually been found to be able to plug into that ACE2 receptor. I've been sitting here researching it all day. In fact, this is one of the things that I've gotten really excited about because I love investigating, and I now have people hiring me, which is awesome, to do some digging around and come back with this kind of information because I think this is imperative for us to be able to understand. So citrus fruit actually has this hesperitin. Don't go out and buy the single supplement. You're better off with the fruit because we need the vitamin C, we need all of the other, because here, let's face it, in the citrus fruit you also have quercetin, which supports histamine activity, histamine receptor activity in the gut, and it helps to quell the immune system. It kind of helps regulate the immune system that way. So the combination, the synergy of bioflavonoids is important. So I strongly suggest that you avoid supplementing with it as much as you can and just go for the fruit. I understand that if, we can only eat so many oranges and grapefruits in a day, but the fact is if we just stick with them every day, we're doing good. And the other one is baicalensis, Baicalin. And that particular, there's a number of plant phytonutrients that I've come across, but these are two very specific ones that also plug into that ACE2 receptor. So it's interesting because, again, and I've talked about this in other videos, that these receptors have different functions. If they're overexpressed, they can cause problems, or they can, be beneficial. So it's different chemicals will affect the activity of these receptors. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head because I find it fascinating. Well, a good one is the CB1 receptor. When the body is in thriving mode, it's producing anandamide. When it's, oh my gosh, I had to pick that one because I can, arachidonic acid. That's pretty close. I actually did damn good that time. But that acid gets produced during stressful times, the same receptor. Okay. So again, these different functions of these receptors have different purposes. Sometimes it's oxidative stress. Sometimes it's chemicals for thriving. So in this case, ACE2 has some very beneficials when it's, really, it's linked, it's neuroprotective, it's, and it also has, the ability to protect our lung health is what I'm trying to say. So there's a lot of information floating up here and I'm trying to regurgitate it all at one time. So that said, the Hesperitin and the baicalensis are two phytonutrients, bioflavonoids. The Hesperitin is, like I said, in citrus. The baicalensis is actually in a Chinese skullcap. I'm going to put that name in the description box below instead of trying to crucify it right here. It's just... I love reading and I love investigating, but pronouncing some words just doesn't go well for me. But it's a Chinese skull cap, and if I can just, I'll try it here. Scutellaria, Scutellaria, Scutellaria. There you go, Scutellaria, baicalensis or baicalensis, by Baicallensis, but it's a Chinese skull cap, and you can get it in a tincture form. And again, it's not just the baicalensis; it has baicalensis in it. Okay, so therefore the synergy of the herb itself, it's a phytonutrient that the body benefits from, especially when it's combined with all the other ones. So I would suggest those two particular things or types of foods, if you will. Uh, Gangle, was it the Gala, Galaga, Galanga? Gee, should have been better prepared, right? It's a type of ginger. It's a Chinese ginger, a Thai ginger, more specifically. That also has some great benefit against, well, protecting and helping to improve the function of the ACE2 receptor. Okay, so those three things. Not the essential oils. There's no essential oils in any of this. Okay, these are foods. Like I said, the Thai, I think sometimes they refer to it as a Siamese ginger. That one, the Scutellaria, with the B. That one, because of it's an herbal tincture with the phytonutrients in it. And then there is the Hesperitin, which is found in your citrus fruits. But again, all of the bioflavonoids together makes a huge difference because, as I mentioned, quercetin is in that as well, and it is very beneficial for the histamine receptor in the gut. Now, that said, essential oils that I would recommend here, and I know I'm going against what I said I would do in the past, but I'm very much wanting to make a point with oils, and number two, emphasize the fact that personalizing this is exceptionally important. I don't care about our current culture, and I don't mean that to be any disrespect. It's just that we currently have a mindset that, and I'm actually going to say a little bit more about this here in a minute, but if it's recommended, we cite properties, that means it's good for everybody for that purpose, and that's could nowhere be close to the truth. I know I've talked about this historically, but it is a very big deal to me. Just this morning, I was doing some research for somebody who was interested in okay. They asked me to look into that for them because their 83-year-old father bought it, and he takes, yeah, an 83-year-old gentleman bought this because it's natural. And I say, good for him. I think it's really great, except for the fact that he takes blood pressure medication. He takes medication to regulate, to ease the effort of his heart. He takes blood thinners, and what else did he tell me? There was, oh my gosh. Oh, statin. There's a statin in there too. So wanted me to look into this for him. And so I've talked about this in the past, actually a couple of summers ago, I think. Yeah, it was actually 2 summers ago. Then it was around 200. Now the FDA is listing over 300 products of those kinds of products because on the label it looks pretty damn natural. But these things have drugs hidden in them of some kind. Generally, they are concentrated doses of male enhancement medication, and they're put into those kinds of things. But this is dangerous, you guys. This is extraordinarily dangerous when we're marketing things as natural and mixing it with medications. There's a lot of people, it's called a drug injury, who end up losing their lives, which is typically blamed on pharmaceuticals. And I'm not saying that pharmaceuticals aren't involved, but what I'm saying is, and this takes a lot for someone who's been working with natural remedies for well over 30 years. It's the combination, okay? It's the combination. And when you have an 83-year-old person who is been living on these kind of medications for a very long time, to go on to something like that, you got to know what's in it, because it could actually it could kill him. the drug injury is real. So this is why recommend, and I know you're probably thinking, well, this has nothing to do with essential oils. It absolutely does. It has everything to do with essential oils because they're promoted as natural too. And just because, again, properties like the oils I'm going to list for you doesn't necessarily make them safe. A really good example is peppermint. Now, I'm not recommending that one for this at all. And the reason why is because it's high in menthol. And menthol is a known, it increases lung tissue permeability. It actually increases tissue permeability, period. They know this. And so they're actually adding it to medications to increase absorbability of that medication. So menthol increases. Now it has antibacterial properties to it. Okay, there is an anti-inflammatory, I think it's an antimicrobial property, an anti-inflammatory, because it's a type of alcohol. But the fact is that the degree that we consume products or we're using products that contain menthol increases lung permeability, and this ACE2 receptors are on the respiratory cells, which means it's increasing the ability of these cells to take in things. I don't care how antimicrobial it is. When you've got a very infectious virus floating around, you want to make sure that you're protecting yourself and you're not increasing tissue permeability. It's foolish. So no peppermint, but it's widely used. This is the reason why. And I just got off the phone call with somebody whose son is having schizophrenic type activity. He's taking, I think, 4 or 5 types of psychiatric medications at this point. 2 antipsychotics, 1 anti-seizure. I mean, he's heavily medicated right now. And so his mother wanted me to look into a nutraceutical company, and because they promote brain health, and somebody had approached them and said they would even give him a free bottle because it's natural. Well, when you go online and you look at it, looks great. And one of the points that they make is they don't have any client testimonials, because that's often fabricated and it's designed to influence sales. Whereas when you have scientific research that can back the effectiveness of the chemicals that they're making in labs, well, so it's like a better statement, right? But again, number one, these are produced in labs, so they're really not natural. I don't care if they're grown in yeast. They are not naturally found in this way. So we are fabricating these things. These nutraceutical companies are typically owned. They are biotechnology companies, and they're generally owned by pharmaceutical companies, because the pharmaceutical companies realize that people want to use more natural. But they're, again, taking 5 different types of medications and then adding something like this, which increases absorption rate, because it's all trademarked. It's not even, doesn't even say proprietary blends. It's all trademarked material that are patented. Pardon me, it's patented, not trademarked. It's patented, and it's registered chemicals. So they're making these things in labs, and they're apparently very effective. But when you combine that with medications, with somebody who has drank starter fluid and other stuff, this is not a smart thing to be doing. Some people would go, well, just take them off the medications. Well, that sounds great, but I've said this before, and I will always stand by this. If you've gotten to the point where you require medications, go with the medication. If you want to add natural, if you want to use natural, find a way to mix them. Find a way to combine them safely, because the potential for drug interaction is real. This is the reason what I'm doing. This is actually why I'm revising my entire book on oils and sleep, because the potential for drug interaction is real. And learning how to understand these oils at that level and beginning to select ones that are appropriate for what's going on with our system is the most beneficial way to get the most out of them. So with that said, the oils that I suggest for this 2020 virus, in conjunction with the Hesperitin and the citrus fruit, the Scutellaria, and the Thai ginger. It's not the ginger root that you get typically at the grocery store. Just know that, okay? Just know that it's a little bit more difficult to get your hands on it, but you can find it. I found some fresh actually on Amazon. So, but that said, I recommend the oils laurel leaf, which doesn't work with blood thinners either, and it doesn't work with anything that is a CNS depressant. So if you take any of those medications, please don't use laurel leaf. Ginger root, the actual ginger root essential oil. Again, these two particular oils, number one, support nitric oxide. They support the better use of cholesterol, which means they're going to help support the hormonal stability, and they're going to help support digestion, among many other things, because it'll actually support the lymph. Okay, help moving the lymph, because the lymph stagnates during stressful times, and especially if we're looking at a virus like this, you are looking at lymph issues because there's a lot of mucus. So it helps to keep things flowing. That said, the other one is cypress, just regular cypress, which will help with respiration. It will help with the elimination of these fluids as well, among other things, which includes a better use of acetylcholine, which is essential for digestion. So, but again, those aren't recommended for everybody. And if you have questions for yourself, let me know. Please follow me on Instagram or Twitter, TammyDavis8, and share this video. I appreciate you being here. And if you decide that you would like to join me on a Zoom chat, Fridays at 5 Eastern is the current time. We can always make it a different time if there's a better time for people. And if you like, also I have the Balanced Wellness, which is a membership group for just really kind of promoting brain health, and which includes nutrition and oils and coaching. And then, of course, my email list. Gosh, I was like spacing out. Please join my email list. And then again, I also appreciate your donations, because they help me continue my research to be able to provide you with as much information as possible, because my mission is that we have what we need to be as healthy and safe as possible. All right, you guys, take care. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.